Why not?
Fuck it.
So,
All right.
Morning beers, cheers.
Morning beers. Hey guys, I'm Steve.
I'm Shawn.
And this is
Morning beers.
This is our third installment of Morning Beers.
Yeah, I'm surprised we're still doing this. It's pretty awesome, and we're getting some decent like views and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know, but I just want to address the whole subscriber issue thing, because like the subscriber thing's kind of bothered me a little bit.
Okay.
Where it's like we're getting like 200 some odd views, and like we have what, like 18, 20 some odd subscribers, something like that. So unless like everybody's watching it like 10 times, which I kind of doubt, it's like that means you're watching and you're not subscribing, and that's you're the problem with the internet right now.
Could be.
I just want to call them you're the problem.
So we're checking in from Musikfest, and most importantly, we're actually at the Wooden Match today.
Oh
This is one of our favorite bars in the Lehigh Valley. It is a cool scene, great food, great cigars, great beers. We love this place, and that's why we're shooting down here instead of other places at Musikfest.
Right. I probably play here monthly. I'm here like once a month.
Yeah, I used to play here like once a week.
Yeah.
And but that was a while ago. Not so much
well,
anymore.
that's a totally different story.
That is a totally different story. That's for another time. That was actually the Artesian, which is the bar next door. But
yeah.
It was still a good time for the most part.
Fancy place can't have their own kitchen though.
No, cannot.
No.
Does not.
Does not, will not.
It's a little hoity-toity. Too much pinkies out.
But we're here on location in Music Mess.
Music Mess, absolutely. The festering is midway. It's midway over, actually.
Yeah. We're almost done with like Music Fest week, like here in Bethlehem, and I would say this is my first time actually down in Music Fest this season.
Well, me too, actually,
Yeah.
which is kind of funny because I live up the street.
Yeah, and I have no desire to ever come down here.
Yeah, it's honestly, it's pretty terrible. You know, there was some interesting documentation or propaganda that we saw on the way down with Musikfest. You know, it's a non-profit. I think a lot of people don't realize what a non-profit is, or that the fact that they say they pay all their bands.
Right. That's probably like a really good topic to talk about that one.
I can tell you, the last time I played Musikfest was a few years ago, and I think we each made $30. So, I mean, you're being paid something, right?
Something. Yeah. Well, I can say that I have never officially played an official stage of Musikfest.
Oh.
I have yet to ever play one of their stages. I'm pretty sure I'm on a do not call list.
Oh, you might be.
I'm going to say I'm probably on a do not call list, but I've played lots of the stages that are affiliated right around on the outskirts of Musikfest. Like this week.
Have you played this one?
Oh yeah,
yes.
Of course. But like even this week I'm at the Brick.
Okay.
Like right down here, and then I'm here on Sunday. So like I'm playing two locations that essentially the Wooden Match is in Musikfest, but just not really like affiliated.
I've done several different events with different artists other than myself, and I played there was a Plotz, because you remember it's Pennsylvania, so we use all this BS German verbiage. But I played a Plotz, which is basically a stage at the Sun Inn, which is the courtyard that we have the Tunes at Twilight years ago. And actually, we played right before Tony Gray and Hiromi.
Oh,
that was a great experience.
Cool.
Yeah, that was a nice time. That was like the first time I met Tony Gray, so that was cool sharing the stage with those guys. Music wasn't the same at all. I think I was playing with a singer-songwriter, which was like, you know, we turned it into like a Joni Mitchell type thing, but you know, I got to have my influence over that. But it was good. It was cool, and Hiromi was cool, so it was great. Now, playing down here isn't always a benefit either, though. I hate playing around here during this festival because you can't park.
Right. Parking's a serious problem. Like I'm even like wondering how I'm going to do it this weekend. Just like finding parking and then lugging gear around and stuff like that. Because like they have this all fenced off like right along like the railroad tracks. Usually I park right along the side here.
Yeah, you know, I found that a lot of times the best thing to do is actually to park a little bit of a distance, and you still have your groove gear cart, right?
Yep, got my cart.
So that's what I do. That's the last time I played. I did the Sun In. I actually parked. I just walked from my house and just took everything on my cart and walked it down, it was a good hour and a half walk, but it was definitely beneficial than trying to find parking down here.
Yeah, if you're a drummer or a bassist and you don't have a cart, it's a really smart investment. Really smart investment for just being able to lug your gear around and not break your back.
I think I got you hooked up with the Groove Gear.
You did. You got me hooked up with that cart because I needed something along those lines.
Yeah. Well, Jay's a good guy. I mean, Groove Gear makes some great products because Groove Gear does the fret wraps that everybody kind of believes in. They also do the straps. I love their straps and their gig bags.
I got that Neo strap as well.
That's the one that I like. It really does offer, instead of cutting into your shoulder like some of these companies.
Yeah. I still find it crazy that some people play with those little cloth 2-inch straps and I don't know. I just feel like in my back and everything like that it just destroys me. So I can't do that.
Especially depending on the bass that you're using. If it's a heavier instrument, you're gonna have a bad time.
Oh yeah.
And it can be really difficult depending on what you're doing with that. So really setting yourself up, and I think that's a big thing too. Because you talked about parking.
Right.
So if you are playing a festival, hopefully you have great parking. The last festival I played was I played with the Monophonics at Floyd Fest,
right? Which
was great because they had direct parking for the artists, and that was like a real festival. This is actually like a citywide festival. It's Musikfest, so it's not like Gathering the Vibes or something like that where you drive your van or your RV or your bus in, and then you kind of head out from there and you have catering and all that stuff. This isn't like that at all. This is like, I don't know, what would you say this is like? It's like a carnival done mad, right?
Yeah, I would say it's a carnival that's on. I hate the term on steroids.
Yeah.
I hate that term just because everyone always thinks that it's it's bigger, it's stronger, it's better.
Well, steroids really makes you angry and
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you want to think about an angry carnival, maybe
lots
that's
of pimples on your back and a small dick.
Let's say the Musikfest might be the small dick and pimples on your back of Bethlehem.
Yeah, it's kind of that kind of festival. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, it really is like a carnival more than anything anymore. It used to be way more centered on having stages with live music, and then of course grabbing the beer and then going from plots to plots. Now anymore, when you walk from plots to plots, you're bombarded with these commercial little tents that always want you to sign up and pretty much sign your life away. And granted, it's a great way for them to try and get people's information.
Well, as we walked down to the Wooden Match, we saw right across the street from the Hotel Bethlehem, Moravian has their own stand out
Moravian's
there now,
got their own now, yeah.
which is again ridiculous because we talked about colleges before for musicians, and they're telling you to be. What exactly did they say there? What was the
Be
verbiage?
a little revolutionary.
Be a little revolutionary. Coming from a college that's all about conformity, right? This was the place that used to get really upset if you played outside.
Colleges, the initial thought was to kind of revolutionize your thought process, kind of open your mind. But as we all know, colleges really try to teach you how to think.
That is true. They want you to think in their way, right?
Exactly.
And I'm not saying that there's...
Be a soldier of Moravian.
But the reality is that's not just Moravian, that's every college right now.
I'm just using it as an example.
Yeah, because they're right over here.
Yes.
Literally.
And they're the ones that had to stand.
That is true. So you guys are going to hear a train because we're right on the train tracks at the Wooden Match.
There's lots of exterior sounds I think they're going to get on this one.
But this is a great place. This is if you do come to Bethlehem, you have to come here. I know we had somebody that wanted to call in too.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Who wanted to call in?
Hugh Jasso.
Jasso.
Hugh Jasso.
I know that name.
He's a friend of mine on Facebook. He's a good guy. He's a bass player.
Okay.
He wanted to call in. I don't know if this would be the best time to do that because of just external noises. So I don't even know if this is actually being picked up very well because
that's what I was wondering before too, but
that microphone's actually pretty good.
Yeah, it is. So if anything, it's going to get some of the wind noise, but whatever.
It is what it is.
Yeah, deal with it. You can thumbs down if you don't like the wind noise.
Or subscribe, then thumbs down.
Subscribe, but then also thumbs down.
So it's interesting, The festering is, how many days is this festival?
I think it's about 10 days.
I think now they added an extra day though. Isn't there a preview day that starts on Thursday?
Yes. The Thursday was the initial preview day of the whole thing.
That's crazy, right?
Yeah.
So there's a whole lot of stuff that's that goes on. I mean, it's not a bad festival.
No.
If you're going to have a carnival going on like this, it's not a bad thing to have in your neighborhood. It could be worse. It could be just a carnival.
This is true.
However, I do prefer, there is another festival that goes on in this very location in about a month from now.
Celtic Fest.
Ah, yes, the Celtic Classic.
Yeah.
That's actually a better festival, I feel.
I like Celtic Fest just because I feel like it sticks a little bit more to traditions a little bit.
It is. I mean,
it's getting a little commercial now, but yeah.
They do the Highland Games and all that stuff.
That's fun.
Yeah, if you've ever seen that, like the guys who toss the cables, the telephone poles, and the dogs.
That's what I always think. It's a telephone pole. He's picking up and he's tossing it, and they try to see it has to flip one full time, and then they measure it from however close it is to them. So if it falls backwards, they measure it from the closest point, which I always found that was pretty cool.
True, I agree. So that one's actually a much better festival. Now the downside about Musikfest.
There's more downsides.
There's a lot of downsides. I think the reality is that, and I think you mentioned this actually on our walk down here, was that there's propaganda. There's a lot of propaganda about first being a nonprofit, and that is true. But people think a nonprofit is a charity, and nonprofit is not a charity. There are still people being paid very well. Arts Quest, who is the kind of the parental figure of this festival, is doing very well. They are making money. They are not worried about not making money. So if you are an artist trying to play this festival, you might want to reconsider what your asking price is, because I can guarantee you that people who are making money are. But if you're a local act and you're planning on playing here, there's a good chance, unless you are not part of the royalty that plays here every year, there's a good chance you won't play here. Even with your EPK. What a fucking ripoff that is, right?
You know what's ridiculous about it is that in the earlier years, they used to have this application on like steelstacks.org or whatever it was, and you could apply for Musikfest without having to pay anything, which kind of makes sense. You know, you apply, doesn't mean that you're going to get picked, and doesn't mean that you're going to get paid. That to me makes sense.
Yeah.
Now they've switched it to where they say that they've only ever accepted applications through Sonic Bids. And Sonic Bids is an online social media basically for bands that kind of put their electronic press kit, their EPK up there, and pay to apply for these different festivals and carnivals and all kinds of like lame shows and stuff like that. Now, if you get picked through that, you might actually make a little bit of money, but the chances are that you're going to apply and you're not going to get picked.
Well, 90% of the time.
Yes.
And you pay. You actually pay. I think it was
$15.
It was. So you figure 1,000 people apply. There's a truck passing us right now. Okay. Yeah. So you figure 1,000 people, and there's more than 1,000 people who apply. Say 100 people apply at $15 a head. That's $1,500. So if 1,000 people apply, that's $15,000 of money that you're giving up. $15,000 into the pot. So your applying is actually paying for the acts.
Yes, and that was what I was really wanting to get to, the fact that, like, to be more realistic, if you think about, like, how big Musikfest has gotten, like, I've met people that came for Musikfest from, like, Europe. Like, they've flown over from Germany for Musikfest, which is absolutely wild to think about, that someone would travel this far to come.
Yeah, so somebody from Australia was here.
It's ridiculous to think how big this thing has gotten. I mean, it's awesome for the Lehigh Valley, but like at the same time, it's like it's mind-boggling to think that. So then you think about all these local bands that are applying. You, the local band, are paying for these bands that don't have anything to do with the Lehigh Valley to come in and play, and then they're going to get paid top dollar. And you're not going to get a callback. You're not going to get considered even. Like, your money has pretty much been spent. And I can honestly say that everyone that I know who has gotten booked for Musikfest has never paid for Musikfest to apply. They have never paid. They've never gone through Sonic Bids. They don't own Sonic Bid accounts. Yeah. They get calls from Arts Quest. There's a couple. I won't mention names, but there's a couple people that are affiliated with Arts.
Name names.
I'm not naming the two names that I know of.
I know several.
There are two names that I know do the main booking for Musikfest, and those two people, they are the ones that send out all the emails to all the local acts that they are going to book, and that's it. That's it. Those are the bands that are going to get. Those are the local bands that are going to get booked. It's not because they applied. They didn't apply. They don't even know.
They don't have
Sonic.
to.
They don't have Sonic bid accounts.
They don't even have to. I mean, that's the bullshit about it, is that there are certain acts every year that are here, right? Every year they are here.
Yep.
And it's fucking nonsense because they're here every fucking year. They don't even apply. Like, I even know, like, my vocalist who I work with, she has another band that she thinks is more relevant.
Legit.
Yeah, it's legit. Even though we actually have a bigger following.
Sure.
But because her other gig is more jazzy, which when you say it, especially to most people nowadays, I mean, jazz is actually a hated genre in the United States. So I use the term lounge because lounge, at least for musicians, it makes us gag, right? But jazz on the tongue of like the commoner or the high school students that I teach, it's like the bile comes up. It's like saying soy juice. When you say soy juice, it makes you kind of gag a little bit. That's why you call it soy milk, right? Because it's actually juice, which is kind of disgusting, right?
I don't think about nut juice.
Soy juice. Well, I think it's a legume.
It's a legume?
I think it's
I learned something.
I think it's a legume. Correct me if I'm wrong. It might just be a bean. I don't know. What the
You
fuck
can thumbs down Steve.
Yeah, just
him.
Just find me. I don't fucking care. But where were we going with this?
The fact that her thing is more legit, and she wasn't going to book your group, even though your group does popular songs
arrangements of popular songs of the last like 30 years. So we're called the New Standard because we're taking that Herbie Hancock idea of new standards and trying to arrange stuff that people fucking know instead of covering like shit from like the 40s and the 50s or 30s that
nobody cares.
They're dead. The people who listen to this, people that were listening to that music are dead. I mean, I'm not saying that's not valid and that music isn't great. I love that music, but the reality is that the 20-year-old, the 30-year-old, the 40-year-old doesn't give a fuck about
the people who are coming to Musikfest
or Autumn in New York.
The people who come to Musikfest,
so, yeah. But there's still like these people that think that it's legit. It's like I'm gonna eat ramen forever and live in my loft apartment in Manhattan because I am legit. And I play the 55 bar for $55. Awesome, dude. Awesome.
Good for you.
Yeah, that's great, man. That's really great.
I can't even pay a phone bill of $55.
Dude, I even have a sales maker plan from, and it's more than that. But the reality is that you can be as legit as you want. It doesn't mean that people are going to like it. I think Steve, I think somebody said this because I mentioned this to somebody about Steve Jobs. It's like, he said, you can be the best, sweetest peach there is out there. It can be the juiciest, the best fucking peach in the world. There's always somebody who hates fucking peaches. Doesn't matter how good it is. And I think that's the reality of even like Musikfest, is that you could have the best band, but there's a bias against you if first, you're local.
Right.
Secondly, if they don't know you. If they don't know you, if you're not part of the in crowd. Now, Shawn has made some inlets into that. Now, I will never make those inlets because he's worked the sack and the taint of all those groups that want they want to be your friend.
It's all about stroking the ego.
It is. It really is.
You're so good. You guys sound great.
Well, you are the best bassist of the Lehigh Valley.
I tied with one of the Jazz Mafia guys.
Yeah, which means absolutely fucking nothing. It is to even care to be a part of that and legitimize it. And I think I said that to you before. I was like, don't legitimize that bullshit.
Right.
Giving that any power is nonsense because any of those.
Well,
that doesn't just
it doesn't get recognized anywhere.
It doesn't just
it won't even get recognized in the Lehigh Valley.
Nobody gives a shit, dude.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm saying that like that like award and like that whole like award show in general, it doesn't do anything besides clutter up your house with like awards if you decide if you're going to keep winning, because like if you decide if
they pick you to keep winning,
if they pick you to keep winning, like it doesn't do anything for you. Like I have respect for Supra, who actually like this past year said no more.
Yeah.
I'm done. I don't want this anymore.
It's the same shit over and over again because they don't actually do the work. It's a very lazy environment because they're not actually seeking out. And I'm not saying that Shawn isn't a good bass player. I would.
I'm fucking with you.
That would be really bad because Shawn actually was one of my students. So
don't put down your own teachings. Yeah.
I will not. Shawn is a very good bass player. just like I think most of my students that I've passed through the years, like one of my students is in summer stack. Oh, thank you so much. Hey, do you want to stop in? You want to say hi?
Hey.
You want to plug anything?
What's up? What's up?
You want to plug anything?
I don't know.
You want to tell people to come in on your shift?
Come to the match.
What's your name?
Allie.
Allie. Look for Allie and make sure you tip her well.
Hey.
She's awesome.
Give her all your money.
Yes, because she's gonna be. Are you gonna be here
all day? Yeah.
Are you normally here?
Yes.
Awesome.
Good.
So you want to look for Allie, or do you work at the bar? Or you?
No, I'm a server.
She's a server, but make sure you're in her section. Buy food and tip her
drinks,
well. Buy drinks.
Know, it's Musikfest. Yeah.
That's right.
So
Good.
look for her at Celtic Classic. You want to make sure that you tip her well.
Learn the face.
Guys.
Thank you.
Yep.
So look for Allie at Celtic Classic and at the Wooden Match. So I think, like I was saying, like I would never put down any of my students because I think everybody is doing well, and also you are a reflection of me.
Sure.
and that goes a long way too. So when you have a teacher, like even switching gears here for a second, we're gonna take a left turn.
Left turn.
As a teacher, it is in your best interest that your students do well. We've all had teachers who don't give a shit about their students and actually work against you. It is in your best interest that they continue to do well because it looks good for you. It does. It's a benefit. If they're doing well and they're doing the stuff that you've instilled, hopefully, and I mean, most teachers are just a stop on the way, but when you compile everything together, it's really important that you leave that student with a really good respect for you. Now, I'm saying that because I've had several teachers that have actually worked against me over the years. And mostly local guys. I'm not saying that about Yannick. I'm not saying that about Tony Gray. I'm not saying that about like...
You specifically said local.
Local, yes, local. Now, I've had some really great local teachers as well. But there's one local teacher that I do not like. Now, I'm not saying Peter Paulson. Peter Paulson from Philadelphia, who taught here. He teaches at a lot of colleges. Amazing, amazing professor. Amazing bass player. He was my upright teacher.
Yep.
Great guy. Seek him out if you're in those areas. Awesome guy. But when you have an instructor that works against you and makes you feel like shit, which a lot of these schools do, they make you feel like shit while you're in there. I know, like, my wife went to school for dance.
Well, they break you down.
They want to make you feel like you are worthless.
Yeah.
And I can say that, like, the guys like Matt Garrison, those guys have never made me feel like shit. They were always able to point out where to grow. Not the opposite way. Tony Gray is an awesome guy. You want to make sure that you get on with his stuff. Mm-hmm. Yannick was all buy his books. Great guy. You have one of his books, right?
Yep, I have. Was it like all the good stuff or whatever it is? Like it's one of his exercise books, and like I really enjoy it. Like I wouldn't say I swear by it, but like I definitely think that has a lot of great benefits out of it. It's not licks, which is probably one of the better things that I could like take away from that. It's not licks. It's exercises to kind of work on dexterity and things like that. So like to me, I thought it was a really beneficial book.
You know, it's funny because here comes the truck again. So Yannick was a great teacher. The story was that he was still living in Manhattan at this time, and I met him at Bass Specialties because I used to teach at Bass Specialties. And I set up a private lesson. I took a couple private lessons with Yannick. And, I mean, I didn't take a ton of lessons. I didn't study with him like I did Matt Garrison or Tony Gray. I went to Tony's quite a bit. But Yannick's house, like I went up, he lived right by the park up towards Harlem. And I remember getting to his place and I was like about 20 minutes early. Now, he made me stand outside for that 20 minutes. It was definitely an interesting situation where it's like, Tony was like, he'd invite you in, you had to take your shoes off, he'd make you tea. Tony was top notch.
Welcome to my dojo kind of thing.
Yeah, Tony was, Matt was like that too. I mean, I had to wait for Matt as well, but Matt was definitely worth the wait. He's a good guy. Like, I love Matt. I will never ever say a bad thing about Matt Garrison.
Nothing bad to say about him.
He's the best guy in the world.
Yeah, I can't say I know him personally or anything, but like his playing has always been phenomenal and stuff like that. So like, great person to learn from. He
is, and I think a lot of people, and I feel like Matt really isn't in that focus anymore right now. Like even Hadrian's kind of come out of focus. Hadrian is.
That's probably for the best.
Well, I don't know, man. There's elements of Hadrian, like when I first met Hadrian, I did not really care for him.
Yeah.
I thought he was, and it could have been the whole like French thing.
Well, I think there's a little bit of like of a personality, like not defect, but like there's something different about someone from France. Like I have friends that are from France, and they have this like ego about their personality and whatnot. It's just a little bit too like in your face.
They don't pull punches. They're direct.
Yes, that's a good point.
And I've seen that with a lot of guys. Like I have a lot of friends I have some friends that are from Israel. I have some friends from France.
But don't you feel like a
too.
little bit more connected to somebody if they're not so like in your face, like in that sense, like Hadrian was very much kind of like for a while
he challenges people.
Yeah, he was very like particular about like his opinions and stuff like that.
Well, I don't know if that was him or the community around him. I'm not a fan of his playing. There's elements of his playing that I like. I think he plays a lot too much symmetrical diminished.
Yes.
When I hear it, and I have friends who it's funny because it's the same friends who love dirty loops. And now I don't like dirty loops. I don't think you can take a turd and make a turd gold. It's just you can't do that. No matter how much arranging that you do of a shitty song, it's still a shitty song. I mean, let's face it, Baby is a shitty song. And no matter how many flams you put in or how much fanfare you put in, it still sucks. I mean, those guys are great players. Now, don't get me wrong. I think those guys are all great players. I just wish they would do to like a better tune,
Yeah, well, you don't need to backpedal when you're saying that type of stuff because we're not talking about the players themselves. Like, the band itself, like that sound, not ideal. Not ideal for like what we're talking about.
Now, correct. Which is funny because like there's bands like Knower and also I don't know if you're familiar with Scary Pockets.
Not Scary Pockets, no.
I love Scary Pockets. So Scary Pockets is kind of like, they're kind of doing what we do, what the New Standard does. So it's these messed up versions of like pop tunes, rock tunes, rap tunes done kind of like funky with some different harmonies and some other stuff going on inside there. What they're doing though is, and I think the bass player plays in Knower as well, who also is Tim LaFay. Tim LaFay is a fucking monster. I love Tim LaFay. Probably one of my favorite bass players. Also with O'Teal. O'Teal's a great fucking bass player too. But Scary Pockets, you want to check them out. Their version, they're doing mashups now, kind of a la Jackie Naylor. Yeah. He was probably the first person that I heard do really good mashups.
That stuff sold me, man. Like that was so cool. Like when you introduced me to Jackie Naylor, that was so awesome.
Jackie Naylor's JACQUINAYLOR. Jackie Naylor, look her up. Her mix of My Funny Valentine with Back in Black.
You sound like a cheerleader when you NAYLOR Naylor.
But seriously, she's fucking great, right?
Oh yeah, she's phenomenal.
Like she is that version of Back in Black with My Funny Valentine lyrics on it. It is great.
I think that's what really like sold me on that because it's so commercial. Even though it's jazz and like classic rock, which those two don't exist in commercial music anymore, but like the two of them together totally gives us gives her like a commercial vibe.
Well, they figured out a way to really like organize those sounds, like to put that together and make it something that people know. I'll play that for my high school students, and they kind of recognize Back in Black, kinda. Now they will never ever recognize My Funny Valentine, no matter how many times I want to spin that. No matter how I introduce them to Miles, to Coltrane, to say Bird or any of those guys, they're not gonna recognize it. It's so outside of who they are in their wheelhouse, they're just not gonna see it. So I have to figure out other ways to get them into the music, and that's a way to do it, is actually using that commercialized concepts of mixing those two genres.
Yep.
Now I think that you could probably use something other than Back in Black because that's even outside their wheelhouse as well. But to be able to have that they can at least associate with, and that's kind of brings me back to what Corinne's doing, is that her stuff, it appeals to a certain audience, but she's never going to get anybody in their 20s or 30s there. They don't care about August Moon or any of that shit.
They don't know the songs.
They don't actually appeal to them. They don't have any physical connection with them. Now, we do 9 Inch Nails. We always do Closer. And everybody knows that song. You look around and it's like you'll see everybody kind of singing along with that to some degree. Now, we're looking for that audience, though. And it's like, I don't know about you, but as soon as you say you want to fuck somebody like an animal, they pretty much want to sing along.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a great song.
Yeah, it's definitely a good one.
And it hits home better. I mean, we cover Weezer. Mm-hmm. You know, we do an arrangement of Weezer tunes. People like that shit.
It's good.
It connects a little bit better than going the opposite way and trying to get people to kind of buy in to jazz.
Yeah, no, you have to kind of slide in, like, subconsciously the jazz element of what's kind of happening. If you can sell them a cover song that they know, but you throw some elements of music that you like into the thing, that's when you get them to listen to jazz and they don't realize they're listening to jazz.
Well, you know, it's funny that you say that. I think people want to feel like they listen to jazz. And I've said this because I play at a place called the Bookstore. And the Bookstore is this, it's supposed to be a 1920s style or 30s style speakeasy. And we got hired there. We filled in for another band once. And all of us basically have a background in standards. We all can play jazz. We all have done jazz or hosted, you know, I've hosted jazz jams actually right there. For a number of years.
Right across the parking lot.
And we used to have all kinds of players coming in. It was funny because it was players. It wasn't audience. It was players. And they were using it as a chance, you know, test their skills, you know, test your metal. What do you know? You know, how can you play over those changes? And outside of there, when we played that Bookstore, we started playing like, you know, we did There'll Never Be Another You. And I swear people were falling asleep. I looked over at her and I said, let's do our normal shit. And we started playing like, I think we did, what tune did we do? I think we did Mother by Danzig.
Right.
And it was like as soon as we did Mother.
I do a version of that too, yeah.
Well, we do it more like, it's funny because we actually swing it.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, we actually play it like Killer Joe.
Oh, nice.
In a way. So it has that walking bass line. People actually were like, holy shit. They're like, they actually dug it. People want to feel like they're more into the arts than they actually are. It's like, I feel really highbrow because I listen to jazz. But they don't really want to listen to jazz. They don't really like it. They like the idea of it. But they don't actually want to listen to it.
Yeah, no, like the version I was doing for a long time, and like I still do it like with Acoustic Bite, where we do like a more of a ballad. It's more like a ballad where I'm playing all the chord arrangements.
Yeah.
And having the vocalist kind of do the thing, and then I do like the solo and stuff. But yeah, it's all like A minor 7. It's like G7. Like
it's in B. It should be in B.
Well, we're doing it in A minor.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we do it in B. So we do it in the Danzig key, the most metal key there is. which is interesting. I mean, it's funny because I think my friend Mike actually he was on tour with Danzig at the time. He's a drum tech. He's out with Slayer right now.
Nice.
And I remember telling him that we were covering Danzig, and I was like, hey man, tell him that we're doing Mother. And you know, I said, tell him that we're doing it in you know, a jazz way. And he told him, and he said, I think that's the worst thing I've ever fucking heard.
Who said that?
Danzig.
Danzig said that?
Which is like that's like the best thing I ever heard. So I think that's, you know, that's a story that was handed down to me, but that's awesome. If Danzig hates it, you know it's good.
Yeah. I mean, like he
didn't even hear it, which is great.
He didn't hear the actual recording and stuff like that.
But he would hate it anyway.
He doesn't need to. He doesn't need to because it's his song. Therefore,
hate it anyway.
It's terrible.
Yeah, of course. And that's just who Glenn is. He hasn't gotten any softer with age.
No.
A little rounder in the middle, but.
Well, his neck's twice as wide as his head. That's like the funniest thing about
him. It's like a foreskin. If he sticks his head down, it's like
like a box turtle. It's
like foreskin. You ever see Glenn and Henry Forever? The comic book? You gotta look this up. There's a comic book called Glenn and Henry Forever, and I think it's they interviewed. There's a quote from Henry Rollins about it. He's like, "Did Glenn see this? I don't think he's gonna like it." And basically makes them out to be lovers.
My favorite is always when there's images of Glenn buying kitty litter and milk, and when he's just like us, and he wears T-shirts too. It's crazy.
Well, I always thought. I don't think he owns anything that isn't see-through. That's the question. Is if anybody ever sees Glenn Danzig in a shirt that is not like see-through or black, can you send us a photo of that?
I would love to see a photo of that.
Yeah, because I don't think that exists.
Probably not.
I mean, how old is that guy? He's got to be in his 60s by now, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
easily. Easily.
Yeah, he's fucking
Misfits
old.
are pretty freaking old, yeah.
Well, he's an interesting dude.
Yes.
It's not always finding what you like, but knowing what you don't like. I guess that's important, right? Helps you to kind of narrow that spectrum down a little bit.
Well, he knows what he likes.
He also knows what he doesn't like. And there's a lot that he doesn't like.
Yeah, there's a lot.
There's a whole lot.
That comes with age. You just stop giving a shit. You're just like, nah.
Nah.
I hate that. I don't like it.
Yeah. We are significantly lower on beer today than we normally are.
I know.
It's kind of sad. Well, I don't think anybody else...
Is Allie going to come by? And
I don't think so. I don't think she's going to help us out. Oh, Allie, where are you?
We need more beer.
So what else can we say about the fest if we come back there?
There's a lot of good food. I don't know, like
expensive though.
Expensive. I mean, and also that's another bullshit thing. Oh, good. I hit another topic.
Ooh. Accidentally.
An accidental topic. The whole buying of beer and food with tickets, the currency exchange, where there's this loophole where you can buy beer just just about anywhere if you aren't paying with money. If you're paying with these little paper tickets
that they take a certain percentage of,
that's totally acceptable. It's totally acceptable to buy booze on the street.
Yeah.
Oh my god, we're gonna get another train?
I don't know.
Alright.
Well,
but yeah,
I think that's interesting though, because what you said about that with the tickets. Now, Musikfest recently.
Enough with the horn.
Musikfest recently had a flood, and they washed away a whole bunch of the tents down here because part of it's in a floodplain.
And that's down in the art section too. Think about that too. Those are all the private sellers, the little jewelry makers, the guys that don't really make any money at Musikfest.
Yeah. They
all get washed out.
Well, and there's one tent over there. There's one musician tent over there. Those guys are the guys that aren't paid well either.
Right.
But so this is hilarious.
$100 4 hours?
No.
So
Musikfest gets washed away. And we have these two people that decide to donate $10,000 to the Musikfest people that are helping to clean up the shit. And what I mean by shit is that the porta potties actually washed down and they actually brought those back. So they're literally cleaning up shit.
Yep. Literally.
So instead of hey, you know what, guys? We're going to give you money. What they do is they give them $10,000 that they turn into Musikfest tickets and allow them to buy food and drinks with Musikfest tickets. Now, remember, the drinks that they're buying, these Musikfest tickets, I think it's almost 60%, between 40 and 60% goes back to Musikfest. So $10,000 off the top of that is going into the pockets of somebody at Musikfest. So really, only a percentage of that is actually for them. So somebody's making money off of the donation. Now, you could argue with me and say, well, normally that happens. Go feed the children. Somebody's making money off that. You got to pay offices. You got to pay, who's doing that. But that's a straight up bullshit move. I think it's
it is.
I think that's as and our sheeple. I mean, our people in the Lehigh Valley. They don't see through the bullshit. Why doesn't anybody go, hey?
Well, because it's all surface value. It's surface value, just like the sign that we saw that said even though the performances are free, the bands are paid type deal. That is a front. That is they're showing you just
propaganda.
Yeah, they're showing you it's a spin. They're showing you just a side that they want you to see. Don't look at this though. Look at that.
Yeah.
And it's the same. Actually, speaking of just that same topic of how they're having people come and clean up shit literally, and then giving them money for it, which is really their own money that they should have been getting paid anyway.
Yeah.
I saw Wells Fargo, which is affiliated with Musikfest as well. They posted a thing affiliated with the whole Musikfest thing where there was a 10-year volunteer, and they decided to give him the day off. So they got somebody else to cover his shit. They made this huge like video post thing where they're saying like, we want to recognize so and so, and he's been volunteering for 10 years or however many years. Maybe it was 20 years. I don't know, but that's a long time for volunteering. And they were saying they had somebody cover his shift, and they gave him the day off. Like, you know, kudos to you. We bought you a beer and we got you lunch. You know, it's like, thank you for all your service for those 10 summers. You know, like, that was really
not even Gold Watch.
Really, like that's what we're gonna do.
Bullshit.
We're gonna give you a day off.
Yeah.
It's like
nice.
What is it really a day off? You're volunteering.
It's not a day off.
That's your day off anyway. You chose to come here.
It's a day on.
it's a day on where where you normally would be working for free, except now you get to hang out and have your beer and your all shucks.
Well worth the money. Well worth it. So I don't know. Let's sum this up. I think we can wrap this one up.
Probably. We're getting kind of bitter now.
We are. Well, we're always bitter. I think that's the thing about you know.
That's morning beers.
It is morning beers. The more you drink, the angrier you get. The reality sets in.
Yeah. It's like, oh man, now I'm upset.
So I think I shared. You know, I want to give out a shout out to Tom Richards. I think Tom's made some great points recently talking about was it called the bitter truth or the harsh reality or whatever.
Tom Richards, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the harsh
That's somebody
reality.
you should follow.
He's on Facebook, so all this stuff his videos are on Facebook.
Yeah, he does the Facebook Live. He's on Instagram, but he's more centered on Facebook.
Yeah, and you know, he points out some facts that are a little hard to swallow, but they're all reality. And I think
he's coming from the working musician's perspective.
He is, and he does a lot. I mean, I've met Tom many years through trade shows.
Yep.
So he's come out, you know, peddling his wares. We got trains, we got planes, we got automobiles,
Man.
we got all kinds of shit going on here.
Musikfest is starting to pop.
It's live. Now people are starting to show up. I see people using the toilets.
Oh, yeah. Before, when we first walked through here, they were completely vacant, which you will never see.
Yes.
You will never see that.
So I think the moral of the story is that, you know, if you're going to play a festival, make sure you're getting paid for it. Don't think that it's just good enough. It almost goes into the same shit that we were talking about, like playing for free.
Yeah.
You know, you're playing a festival for free. Exposure dollars are not going to pay your rent. Exposure dollars are not going to keep your girlfriend at your apartment for you. Exposure dollars are not going to pay for food. So I think you need to be, you know, be fucking smart. Don't be a fucking idiot.
I wish I could go to like a 5-star restaurant and say to them, hey, you know what? I played at Xfinity. Can I cash that in now?
Ooh, exposure dollars.
Exposure dollars.
You know, it's funny because I think my wife just told me that one of the companies is now Starbucks is going to start taking Bitcoin or something like that, or
but it fluctuates by the minute.
I know. So they're going to take Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies, yet exposure dollars are worthless.
I'm going to start a new online currency called Fuzzy Dollars.
I think exposure dollars. I think that's where it's at. I think we should convert that into a currency.
Yes. So venues, take our heat and go with this. Exposure dollars.
Now
we're gonna pay you in 3,000 exposure dollars.
Now what is the? How does that translate into U.S. money? U.S.
Well, I don't know if you'll be able to buy anything
dollar,
with that.
USD, probably nothing. But
you can put it on your Facebook.
Oh, the motorcycles are here now too.
You can put it on your Instagram. I've earned so many exposure dollars.
You are a star. Exposure dollars.
Hold on. There's a Harley convention happening.
It was only one.
Oh, thank goodness.
But it sounds like more.
Thank goodness.
So, I think Musikfest, any of these festivals are worth checking out. I think as an artist, though, you have to be smart about where you spend your money. And what I mean by money is your time, your presence, what you do, because it doesn't equal out at the end.
No.
You know, so you got to be careful with that, and just don't throw your shit away.
Be smart about it. You are offering a service, and when you're offering a service, that service is worth a certain amount of like X dollars.
Yeah.
So always think as a small business owner versus a musician trying to get your art out. It's not about getting art out anymore. It's about actually putting a value to what it is that you do.
And don't let people pressure you into that bullshit of like, oh, well, you should love your art. Yeah, you should also love to be able to eat too, and
yes.
that's nice as well. simply because you love what you do. It's like, hey, hey, I'm sure it's great being a CEO of a Fortune 500 company.
Yeah.
But, you love doing it, so you should do it for free. Now, that shit never comes up. I'm sure Tesla, the people who work at Tesla who love working there, don't go, you know what, this is just too good, don't pay me anymore. That shit doesn't happen. You don't think Tim Cook's like, you know what, I don't need money this year. That shit doesn't happen. Get paid. Ask for money. Make sure that you're paid for what your value is. If you don't see it as having a value, how will anybody else see it as having a value?
Exactly.
I think with that, we can kind of close out morning beers.
That's the moral.
That's the morning beers, yeah.
So, thank you for tuning in to Morning Beers. Make sure you subscribe.
Subscribe.
Like the video.
Or don't.
Or don't like it. Your choice.
Make a comment, though. Don't just unlike it.
If you
That's
dislike
bullshit.
it, leave a comment, you asshole.
Or if you like it, leave a comment.
Yeah, that would be nice too. Tell
Yeah.
us what you liked, what you didn't like. If you
All
can't
right.
hear us because of all the background noise, well, too bad.
Yeah, you'll figure it out. Turn up the volume.
Yeah.
Pump up the volume.
Pump up.
Dance.
Dance, dance.